All right, welcome aboard again. This is the part 4 of Entity Framework V6 based on .NET Framework version 4. If you've not watched the previous video before, I would implore you to go watch the previous video before you continue with this one. Okay, first things first, let's go check where we are coming from. We've created employee database. We've created we've created entity project. Sorry, we've equally created a DB context project that consumes the entity project. So what we're going to do now is to create a repository project to consume the DB context project. I'm just going to dive into it. There you go. That's exactly where we are, and that's the DB context project. And now we're going to create a repository project to consume that. So it's quite simple. I'll just pick the class library as usual and name it as I wish. In this case, I say dj.framework.repository. Right, great. Good. And now what we need is to create our first repository class, which is the employee repository. Repository. I'll change that quickly. And now I will create an interface for that. That will help me generate that quickly, and I'll do that way. Interface. I will call it employee repository. Great. I'm just going to make this public. Nice and simple. So what do we want to do first? Let's retrieve employee from the employee database. That's the first things first, because we mentioned, as I've mentioned earlier, what we're dealing on is CRUD, right? So in that case, I will do enumerable, and what are we retrieving? We're retrieving the employee from the employee database. So we're just going to say the employee type, which is now the employee that we initially created, which is in that entity. So, but in order for us to use the namespace here, we need to reference the project, which is this one, and then we just take that, and then I can now reference the class itself, the namespace. I'll say get employees. I'll just call it get employees. That's okay. So this will give me all the employees. So let's stop there for now. No, let's just continue. And then we want to add new employee and return the employees that were added. So this will add a single employee, and then it will bring back the employee that was added. And I will call this entity straight. So, and then let's update an employee by doing this, by updating an employee. So that will help us update the employee. And now final one is let's delete an employee. In this case, we're going to make this bool and delete an employee. Yes, we're going to delete an employee by ID. So we're going to use an ID to delete an employee by doing this. So that's it. Get the employee, add employee, update employee, and delete employee. So we're going to implement this at the employee class repository. And of course, we need the implementation. There you go. Now we've got all the implementations here. So the next stage is quite simple. What's important is we want to use the repository to get the data from the database. So by so doing, we need to reference the data context project, which I've just done. And now I'm going to create a very simple constructor right here, and I will add the employee DB context class as a reference here, which we've got here. I will do that now by doing private employee DB context, and don't forget to get the using, and I will call this DB context. Great. So now that saves me a lot of stress. I can now go here and instantiate the employee DB context class, and of course, don't forget it's expecting a connection string. Remember how we did it in the initial stage. Okay. All right. In short, I will tell you how we get the employee DB context connection string by using app config. But before then, let's just do what is necessary by using the DB context dot employees dot add. If I'm not mistaken, we need the right here underneath this one, we need the entity framework as well. So, but I'm not going to install a new package. I'm just going to take the references that we've got before, which I initially showed you. So it's just going to join that into the library by going straight here and then going to entity framework packages, entity framework libraries, and those two of it, I'll just take them. They're needed in order for me to use that. So now that will bring that in there, and I'll say add. In this case, I'm adding the entity. So after adding the entity, I will return the entity. By so doing, it will give me the opportunity to have an ID. And I'll tell you in details why I did that. In this case, I will say, I'll see you on my next video. See you when I get there.